Okay, welcome to our 9th grade Introduction Technology video series. We're here for lesson number 2, where we're going to look at the history and evolution of technology. Technology has changed a great deal, obviously, over the years. For a long time, it didn't really do a whole lot, but most of our changes have occurred within about the last 200 years. As we look through this one, how and why has technology evolved? Just like our little picture there, so easy a caveman can do it. Well, let's look at what's going on here with technology. We're not going to go into a lot of the specific details of this project. Really, I'm going to let you guys do that. You're going to do the research for finding some important inventions from some different time periods. But let's look at some of these time periods as they go through historically. Historians have always tried to put technology into these really nice little groupings of time periods. First of these is what we call the Stone Age. Well, what happened in the Stone Age? Well, people were so busy running around trying to keep from getting eaten themselves and trying to stay alive, they just really didn't think much about how do we make our lives easier and better. They were too busy trying to kill their dinner. Somebody realized, hey, if I pick up a stone, I can use it. It will increase my mechanical advantage. Well, they probably didn't think in those terms, but it increased their mechanical advantage, and it was a lot stronger and tougher than using their fist. Later, they realized, hey, if I take that stone tied to the end of a stick, I increase the length of my lever, acts like a hammer, increases again my mechanical advantage even more. Bow and arrow, wow, so much better. So, Stone Age, really not too much was going on. We learned how to use very basic objects as tools. Then we started to get a little better and a little bit smarter. We got into these things called the various metal ages. I grouped them all together. Some people split them all up, but copper, bronze, iron age. We started to learn to work with different elements, different metals. We found out, hey, we can dig up this stuff called copper out of the ground. We heat it up enough, we can melt it down, we can pound it, we can shape it, we can pour it, we can turn it into things. Well, copper's not a very strong metal. Those tools were pretty weak. Supposedly, the pyramids were built with copper tools. Try to cut a rock with a penny. Basically, what's happening. An older penny, that is. We learned that if we can take copper, we mix it with other materials, we can make something called bronze. Again, it's a slightly stronger material. We got into the Iron Ages. We realized that we take these other elements we dig out of the ground, we heat them up even more, we can melt them down. Iron is a much stronger material. Iron by itself is strong but brittle. Cast iron engine blocks, easy to break. Okay, but we found out if we mix some other items with it, like carbon, we can make steel, we can soften it and treat it and do some different things with it. We started making steel. So, again, we came up with much better tools that could do other things. And with all of these new tools, we were able to do some other implements and some other things to make life easier. We could use these metals to make tools to help us with agriculture. Agricultural age was our next age. During the agricultural age, farming began to become improved. All of a sudden now people could grow crops and produce more food than they could use themselves. When you have something like that, it frees up other people. They don't have to worry about food themselves so much. They can do other things. This is when our larger cities began to develop, where larger populations of people could cluster together and food could be brought into the cities from the agricultural areas. When you have these people that are in these large groupings, they can start to think, they can start to do other things. We came up with a thing called the Industrial Age. The Industrial Age is where we started to manufacture a lot of goods. Now again, like we talked about in the last lesson, in the United States, we don't do as much industry as we used to. That's being taken care of by other countries. But again, with all of these technologies that we develop, there are benefits, but there are also side effects that we need to worry about. Just remember from the last Olympics in China, Beijing, people are walking around with dust masks. The smog is so bad you can't even see. They need to concern themselves with environmental concerns now. Right now, so much of the land, the water, the air is polluted in China, it's actually pretty scary for them. They're ruining their natural resources. So, environmental concerns need to also be considered. So, we came into this industrial age. Well, what came after the industrial age? We're supposedly in this area called the information or the computer age. So basically, We have all of the information of the world available at our fingertips. Everything is right there. Just look at your smartphone, your laptop, your tablet. Everything is just available for you. And technology continues to develop faster and faster and faster. So, what's going on with this? Timeline of major events. We try to group important inventions together into specific time periods. This is a little difficult to do. Some websites will take you to some different timelines. Well, here's what's going on. What happened to technology during the following time periods? And we have a bunch of groupings here. So when you look at these different time periods, and I know we stop at 2012, just consider that up to the modern age. 250,000 BC, way back then. Just try to think in your minds, what kind of technology was available back then? Not a whole lot. Okay, and then we have a time period here from about 4,000 BC to 70,000 BC. Still a really big block of time. The next time period we have here is 1 BC to about 4,000 BC. And then we jump to 1 AD to 1000 AD. Now we're down to a 1,000-year time period. And then we go 1000 AD to 1300 AD, 300-year time period. 1300 to 1500, 200 years. 15 to 1700, 17 to 1800. Now we're down to a time period of 100 years. 18 to 1850, 1850 to 1900, and you see as we continue up through time, those time periods get shorter and shorter. What are we saying? Well, we're saying that technology grew really slowly to begin with, and as time continues, technology is advancing more rapidly with every passing decade. Technology doubles quicker and quicker and quicker. It's what we call an exponential curve if you're thinking about mathematical terms. An exponential curve on a graph shows a slow rise, and then all of a sudden it gets steeper and steeper and steeper. It's like a hill that starts out gradual and gets really steep, and it turns into almost a vertical rise. That's what's happening to technology. So the time periods get closer together and shorter because there are so many technological changes occurring during that time period. Okay, so what are you going to do with all these different time periods? Well, here's the actual assignment. Technology timeline assignment. In groups of 2, so with a partner, we want you to select one of the time periods on the previous slide to research. So you and your partner are going to decide which one you want to do. Now, not everybody's going to choose the same time period. In the classroom, we're going to actually draw numbers out of a cup, and each group's going to get to choose which time period they do, and as one is selected, we'll cross it off, and no one else can pick that time period. After you pick your time period, you're going to use the internet, and you're going to find at least 3 important inventions that changed the way humans lived in that time period. So what we basically want you to do is pick at least 3 important inventions. Can you do more? Yes, but you have to have at least 3 inventions that you and your partner feel are the most important things that came about during that time period. If you think sliced bread was the most important thing that happened during your time period, go for it. But, try to think of it seriously and try to come up with what you feel are 3 very important inventions that occurred. You're going to create a short PowerPoint describing your findings, and you're going to follow the format that is on the next slide to put that PowerPoint together. When the PowerPoint's done, you're going to submit it through the Canvas class website, and then you and your partner will present your PowerPoint to the class so that everybody will get to know what's going on. Now, these presentations, this is how your PowerPoint needs to be organized. You're going to create an intro slide with your time period on it and your names, first and last names of everybody that worked on it in your group. You're going to create at least a slide for each invention you feel is important. Now, to do this correctly, you're probably going to need to do at least 2 slides for each invention. Some people will try to cram it onto one, but I think it is best to probably try to go at least 2 slides for each invention, because what you need to include for each invention is the name of invention and the date that it was invented. A picture of the invention. I think those 2 items would be good just for one slide by itself, and then you would want a slide that would describe why that invention was important. If it's kind of a complex invention, maybe you might want to also describe what it does and how it works. So those are the three things that you have to have as a bare minimum for each invention. The name of the invention, the date that it was invented, the picture of the invention, and describe why it was important for each of your slides. Okay, so this is what you're going to work on. Think about your slide presentations. Think about transitions. Have nice smooth transitions and animation effects. It all kind of counts into your final grade. Think about good contrast. If you have a dark background, make sure that your text is light. If you have a light background, make sure your text is dark. If it looks good on the computer screen, but it's not very vibrant, chances are that when you project it onto the screen in the front of the classroom, you're probably not going to be able to read your text because it's not going to be as bright projected on that screen as it is on your computer screen. So make sure there's good contrast, good light and dark of everything. Good luck.